I want to introduce myself, and I implore Democrats to listen, or if not registered Democrat, old-fashioned liberals. That is I, Mark Stewart Greenstein. I am a conservative if you measure that today. If you measured this in John F. Kennedy's time, I would be a Kennedy Democrat, because they've moved and their leaders have allowed them to move, but mainstream Democrats, those of us who in the 1970s said, yeah, this is where my values are, more likely went Democrat. JFK and throughout the 60s was a party for ordinary people. Even up until the 1990s, okay? Bill Clinton was for ordinary people, all right? So I'll give you where I'm at. You see if you're equally conservative. I am pro civilians with firearms to protect one another. I am pro sensible immigration. I am pro education via choice in schools. I am pro private welfare, replacing bad public welfare that doesn't work. I am pro civil rights. That implies pro consent. When governors and bureaucrats take away rights in the name of a healthcare emergency that basically is used to enrich big corporations, impoverish or close down small businesses, change family lifestyles, ruin schooling, and grow the government, if not the power of those legislators, then the power of the bureaucrats who serve them. And by the way, serving them, not you. If you're like me, you have an important vote, and I contend it should be independent. You don't have to vote Republican. There are good independent candidates. But please don't vote Democrat, because even the Democrat leaders who are on the conservative side, I'll give one exception at the end, Democrat leaders are protecting the far left. And the far left, ladies and gentlemen, is a way bigger threat than anything in our lifetimes, okay? This is worse than the dislocations of the 60s and 70s, okay? Some rioting in the streets, but back then it was limited to what we would call crazed people. But when government officials these days want kids to loot at any provocation, want to have protests that get rid of cars, want to defund the police, want to make schooling an experiment in their way instead of good, normal education, you have a far left that is absolutely dangerous. So, I think even Ned Lamont is conservative by our standards, but like every other Democrat governor, he doesn't speak up against the excesses of the far left. That may be worse than the leftists themselves, okay? We know who they are. We know how wacky Bernie Sanders and AOC's proposals are. But when a normal Democrat, I put Ned in that category, doesn't call them out, we are subject to possibly tyranny, okay? I will take a far-right candidate because far-right, they just want to be left alone, over a far-left who want to dominate over the rest of us. Every COVID proposal engineered more for the bigger companies and less for the rest of us. In the process, more and more power. We can't give that kind of power again if there's another emergency. And there will be, because the media likes playing up even minor things. Look what they've done with monkeypox. And there is a precedent that they've gotten away with, okay? The governors forced masking and shutdowns and restrictions for what? A few health of some 85 and older people. But that could have been taken care of easily by positive protection. That's what many of us liberty-minded people were calling for all along. We should do that now with stand-up voting. Don't vote Democrat. I am a Democrat. Don't vote for a Democrat leader. Don't. I'm running as an independent. Others who are running as independents or Republicans deserve your vote. They don't. I'm Mark Stewart.